Lead with Legacy, the official podcast of IOL Global. Here, we will explore leadership that outlives titles and trends. Through conversations with faith-based and marketplace leaders, we will discuss integrity, conviction, and purpose. To learn more about us, visit us at iolglobal.com. Hello, welcome back to the Lead with Legacy podcast. Thank you so much for listening with us. I am so incredibly honored to be here today with Mr. Scott King. We're going to talk a little bit about how we connected with one another, and we're going to talk to Scott about who he is and what he does. He has some fascinating background in what he's doing, and we have some commonalities that we're going to kind of talk about today. Before we get started, and I let Scott introduce himself, just a reminder to follow us or like us or subscribe to us on whatever channel you want. We are on Buzzsprout, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music, believe it or not. Never in a million years did I think that would happen, but here we are. So make sure you make comments and follow and like us and all the things so that we can reach other people with great leadership advice and information. So without further ado, Mr. Scott King, will you please let us know who you are, where you're from, and how we got connected?
Hello, thank you so much. I'm
Yeah.
so honored to be here today. I am a high school band director of bands in the Atlanta, Georgia area. I've been doing that for a good while, and I am working on moving into a new career, project management, consulting, things where I can help other people and keep organizing things.
Yeah. Yeah, very nice. So you are in south of Atlanta, like, I don't even know that. Is it Sonoya?
It is actually Sonoya. Most
I
people
did it
would,
right.
yes, Sonoya. So people would know it as that's where they feel Walking Dead.
I would not know that.
Right.
So we have some commonalities, a couple. One, I grew up in band, love band, have a very musical family. Was in marching band, color guard, and concert band. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And so we have some great connection there. I also, for those who haven't heard that on another podcast, I was raised in north of Atlanta in Marietta. So actually almost the opposite. So you're like, I was looking it up. You're basically the opposite south as I was north of Atlanta. And so we have some super commonality there. Super nice to see somebody from Georgia. I do miss it. It's not home for me anymore, but I do miss it sometimes. Miss the varsity for sure. I would do a lot for a varsity burger. So, but yeah, so honored to have you on today. So we just saw your mug. Let's talk a little bit about your mug while we get started.
Okay, so I was honored from Wear Your Cake to Work from Project Insight. They honored me with the mug for doing all the superhero things that project managers do. And as a director of bands, I consider myself a project manager. We have
you were absolutely a project manager. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So Project Insight, tell us who they are and what they do. We're giving them a free shout out on this. Only because I want a mug too. So,
well, they have software that helps project managers do their job easier.
Fantastic. I love that. So y'all go check them out as well. All right. So let's talk about band. So you, let's talk a little bit about your education too, because I had to look this up. My dad has an EDD. And so when I saw EDS, I was like, what is an EDS? So I looked up. So it's an education specialist. Make sure I'm saying that right.
Right.
And so it's kind of in between the master's. It's after the master's and in between the doctorate.
That's exactly it. So
I got it. Google helped me.
That's right. So it's right. It's an add-on after the master's. And at the point where I could have kept going into doctorate at Auburn, my daughter was very little, and she would start crying every time I would open up my computer to work on it. I couldn't go anymore. She's why I am still teaching. So.
Yeah, no, wonderful. So is it just one daughter or is there
just one daughter?
Just one daughter. Okay. For some reason I had two in my head. And she's going to be a senior. That's right. Yeah. So
major all-state bassoonist, but she's a varsity soccer player.
Awesome. Very, very good job. Yeah. So, but let's not devalue the education that you have there and the degree you have there, because that takes a lot to get to that point too. And you never know, you might go back and finish into your doctorate as well. But it don't never say never.
You're right.
You never know what God has in store. He might send you next week. But no, congratulations on that as well, because that's no small feat. You went through a lot of schooling, a lot of education for that. And that's really, really cool. I thought it was interesting because I was like, I don't think I know that one. And I just went to a college graduation the other day, and I learned a lot. Not that I have never been to one, because I've been a lot, but it was really interesting. So they had, this kind of like off on a rabbit trail, but they had like a huge silver trophy. And my 6-year-old son was with me, and he was like, I wonder who's gonna get that trophy thing. And I was like, I don't think anybody gets it. I think it's just part of, like, all the pomp and circumstance and everything. And he's kind of wise beyond his years, so you can kind of talk to him like that. And he's like, oh no, I think somebody's get it. Sure enough, somebody got it. And unbelievably so, the lady who got it is actually has been scheduled to be on this podcast. And so she hasn't been on
Wow.
yet, but she will. And I was like, well, there you go. So anyways, that's kind of a side note, but no shame to that degree at all. You worked really, really hard to get it. And I think it's really cool. I learned something new today. So yeah, so I'm super happy to have you on. We got connected on LinkedIn. I'm not sure who connected first or how long we've been connected. But I love LinkedIn for the connections, because we get to meet people that we wouldn't normally have conversations with. I love these conversations. I walk away every time learning something and taking something away. And so it's really, really great. And I'm really honored to have you on. You're brilliant. Yeah,
I
we
love
got,
LinkedIn because I've never, and I might be new to it, but I've never had a bad experience. Everybody seems so helpful and so willing to do whatever they can. So
yeah,
unlike some other, so unlike
yeah,
some other platforms.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it's, for anybody who's not on LinkedIn, and there are people who aren't on there, which to those of us who are, it's a little strange. It's such a connection site. It's such a great way to meet great people all over the world. I have connections on there, in England, Scotland, and in the Bahamas. It's really, really great. In a way to learn from other people and grow and develop and think about things differently. And so it's been really, really great for me as well. I'm a huge, huge fan of LinkedIn. Shout out to Lincoln as well. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of, we're on a lot of other platforms, but I'll be honest, you won't find me on there very much. So not personally. All right, so let's talk about, you've spent several decades leading successful band programs and mentoring programs, which is super cool. What leadership lessons from that music education apply across the board, not just to a band? And for those of you who don't know what a marching band is, or just even just a regular concert band, a lot of planning and detail goes into this. So I'm going to let you talk about that. You're the expert in it, so take us away.
So a couple things that's transferable is leading by example, fairness, inclusivity, making everyone feel valued, humility, and encouragement. So I can talk
Yes.
a little bit about those.
Yeah,
So
let's do that.
I need to be the model and reward things like strong work ethic, accountability, curiosity, resilience, because you don't win every contest. You
That's
lose,
right.
well, lose more of them than you win, and teamwork. So again, a team that big, you need to make sure that you're doing everything to lead by example. So that way they can take, my team can take all the things that we're teaching them in band, life skills throughout the rest of their lives. Fairness. I think fairness is very important to me, sometimes to a fault. I like, just like, for instance, when we have auditions or anything related to that, we make sure it's a blind audition where we don't know who the students are. That way they feel, even solos, that way they feel like they get, you know, I'm not biased towards or against anyone, even though they know I'm not. And a lot of times I'm surprised, pleasantly, where somebody that really wanted that position or really wanted that solo comes through, and I'm like, that's great, and it encouraged them to work harder. If it wasn't fair, they wouldn't even work hard because I knew for one conclusion. So I try to get the most out of them. And selfishly, I want the most out of them too. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't I've met a few band directors in my life, and I had two great ones for many years. And well, all the way through middle school, all the way through high school. And I haven't met one yet that isn't driven and doesn't want the best for everybody. So let's talk a little bit about this. So for people who don't know, who may have never been in that space, when you are in band, whether it's concert band or marching band, you audition for different positions within the area that you play. So, for instance, I played the flute. So when I was playing concert band, I would have to audition for the seat that I wanted, whether it was first seat or last seat or the middle seat. And so we auditioned for that. And so we would be given different songs that we would learn, and then we would audition for that. Now, Scott, you and I were talking about this before. This is a new concept to me because, 150 years ago when I was in band, they did not do blind auditions. And so I really like the concept of that. And I like how it transitions into our leadership in other areas and other organizations. I think sometimes we have lenses, and our pastor was kind of teaching on this Wednesday night. And so it was interesting as well. It kind of coincides. We have different lenses of judgment, lenses of bias, different kinds of lenses that we might put on. So the fact that you do what we call blind auditions, where you don't even see them, you're only hearing uh, what the production is that they're making, and you make a judgment call on that, is so beautiful. I think it's so great. I think we should take that into other parts of our lives, in our organizations and our families, to not have, like, those opinions already preformed, because you don't know who's going to play. You just need them to play and play well. And then they kind of earn and I would go so far as to say is win that seat. And then it's also, I think the beauty of it too, and I'm going to let you talk a little bit about this, being the last chair or the last position, that's not always a negative thing. It can give us an opportunity to regroup, redefine. And when you're playing instruments, especially early on, is that really the instrument you should be playing, or is it that the best position for you? And again, that translates into leadership roles in organizations. You might have to start somewhere, but that's not necessarily where you end up, right? And you can go from last chair to first chair pretty quick if you have determination, and some grit to it. So let me let you talk about that a little bit.
well, that's a very interesting concept because we've had students where we have three different concert ensembles, and we place them where they're most successful based on that audition.
Hmm.
And we have had a couple of students who, one particular who started in the third band and worked his way up, and now he's a professional musician.
Wow.
Yeah, so that we encourage them to keep working hard and keep
Yeah.
doing that. And the three ensembles are there for a reason, and it's really not as much as talent as much as dedication, how much they're willing to put in. These are really smart students, so we want to try to get the best out of them and to keep moving towards that. And sometimes they'll have a great audition, and then when we get into the ear, it's not the same, and
Mm.
I'll almost use that against them. I'll go, "Hey, where was that? Where
What
was
happened?
to get in here?" And they're like, "Oh, okay, all right, because I worked real hard for a couple of weeks to get in here, and then now I got to produce."
Yeah, not doing the work. And we can be guilty of that in real life too, right? Quote unquote real life. Like, we work really hard to get to a position or get to a place professionally or personally, right? And then we just kind of let it go.
Well,
And so
that's a good point because as I'm transitioning into a new career, I don't want people to hold it against me that I have not been in that industry. I have lots of skills that transfer, and I want them to look at me, fairly with fresh eyes because I have a lot to offer. And it's the same thing with our last chair clarinet player. They wouldn't be there. In fact, in marching band, every single person is important and
absolutely.
valued from their contribution visually and musically. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So if you don't know a lot about marching band, you should go and look it up. Especially, what I love about this conversation with you, Scott, is that this does really translate so much to project management. because marching band, especially both, but we're going to kind of focus on marching band a little bit. Marching band takes a massive amount of planning, project planning. Every single step has to be correct on every single person. You can mess up the whole thing. I don't know how. So you guys are at Stars Mill, and how many do you have in your marching band, generally speaking?
Yeah, about 80.
Wow, yeah, yeah. So that can you imagine 80 teenagers having to coordinate that they take every step correctly?
Well,
If that's not project management, I don't know what is. And I have the opportunity to be connected with some teachers who have transitioned from teaching to project management, and then also quite a few military who have translated from military into project management. And I was thinking about you. I was thinking and kind of just praying about this conversation last night. And I was like, you know what? You kind of have both because marching band, I'm not saying it's the same as the military, but it's very, very rigid like that. You really have to plan ahead. You really have to have, and I'm gonna let you talk about that. I'll be quiet in a minute. But you really have to have these kind of ground rules, things kind of set out already, expectations. You guys do a lot of training, a lot, and I'll let you talk about that too. And so both sides of that transition into project management, you've been managing projects for eons. Now, maybe they didn't call it that, maybe they didn't say at this school or that school, hey, this setup is a project. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about what goes into creating a show like that. And for those people who don't know, the marching band, it marches and does a show for the football games. And then they also go and do other shows, parades and different things like that. So I'll let you talk about that.
right. Well, it's a dual responsibility. We do support our football team and some other teams sometimes during the year,
Hmm.
but we also compete,
Yes.
and that's where a lot of the planning goes in. Again, just like any other project, you think ahead and you plan out. These are deliverables that are time bound. So when Friday night comes, you got to perform. You got to do it in front of a lot of customers.
Yes.
So there's very little room for error. I teach them how to think about the very fine details, how to recover when there's mistakes in a live performance, and yeah, a lot of planning and a lot of teaching goes on before that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of dedication from everybody, from you, your team, and from the students as well. I know I can honestly attest to that. I am better because I was in band. It taught me a lot. It taught me how to fail, right? Because you don't always get the position that you want. You don't always get to do what you want, where you want. Sometimes you got to be moved for the whole of the team. And so it taught me a lot about leadership. So let's talk about that, the leadership structure with inside of that. I know we talked a little bit about you kind of run your group like a scrum team and they eat. So explain that how that works because I think to project managers that's going to be really interesting.
The more research I'm doing about my next steps, the more interested I'm becoming into Scrum Master. So somebody suggested that I take the marching band and I use it as a scrum of scrums. So each section leader is a scrum master, and they're able to run their section as they see fit within a framework
Sure.
of our culture that I've created. So that gives them buy-in, that gives them freedom to do some things again within the framework,
Right.
and and that helps to overall include that psychological safety, that teamwork.
Yeah.
They're working for each other because that way, because they see me. The older I get, I know they see me as a salesman, but they want to impress their peers. So when their peers say it, it means a lot more to them than when I say it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that we sometimes lose a little bit of that as we grow and we've kind of lost it in our culture here in the United States a little bit of that good peer pressure, right? Wanting and striving because it's good for the whole of the team and it's not just about me and that if I make it about me, we're all going to fail. So, as much as we all hated when I was kids, like the group project, I don't even know if they do that anymore, but there was so much more to that than just, oh, getting the project done. It was working together, collaborating together, learning from one another, learning together, and then learning that if one of the pieces fails, we're all going to fail. And I think we've lost a little bit about of that because well, we can't, let everybody fail and everybody has to win. I think it's good to fail. It's okay to fail. I've learned a lot from failing, uh, you know, over the years. And you reminded me in our other conversation that, so I went to Sprayberry High School. And so you'll have to remind me which school you were at the time, but you guys beat us. Well, your color guard team beat our color guard team. And I was not on color guard at the time. But yeah, so we failed a little bit in that, and we at the time, back when I was going to Sprayberry was like our marching band was
There you
it
go.
was it was one to envy for sure. I think that at one time, and I would have to look up the statistics on that, but I think we had like 400 people in our marching band between color guard and drill team and all of that. Yeah, so you guys beat us. Not a whole lot of people beat us, so congratulations.
Well, I was at Stockbridge High School as an
Stockbridge, that's
assistant.
right.
Uh-huh. And I was in charge of the color guard. Now, what you didn't see was the year before, it was horrible. My first year, they said, fix it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of seniors that did not want to listen, didn't do anything. So I started the steps that year. We didn't win a whole lot that year, but the following year that paid off. So we've
I'm
got,
gonna tell you what, if you could turn it around and beat Sprayberry, you did something amazing. We got to go with concert band to New York, and play in Carnegie Hall, which is which like trip of a lifetime, right? And then a lot there was a group, and I honestly can't remember. It really was like forever ago, but a big group. I don't know if it was everyone or what the situation was, but a big group went to the Rose Bowl of ours. And then we also went down to Florida and marched in, I can't even tell you. But we were able to do some really cool stuff. And again, I'm a huge proponent, and I really do agree with you that so much of the principles and just the leadership style and stuff came from what I learned during that time. I think that your transition into project management is a fluid one. I think it's so much more than logical, because you have been doing that for the whole time. And I think a lot of people don't realize that the work that they're doing already transitions and you're already managing projects, right? If you've done a big move, you've managed a project, That's a project in and of itself. I think kind of raising a kid is a project. And you're helping to raise 80 of them right now. So kudos to you.
of it that way too. We try to, I try to instill as many life skills as
Yeah,
possible. Something that I never thought would be an issue with now with a teenager's attention span being so short. You're talking about a 8-minute marching show where if they unfocus for 5 seconds, they're blown. It's
right.
something's wrong. We in my top ensemble, we're playing college level music, so a piece could be 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
These kids cannot, they can't just zone out after, 15 seconds like a TikTok video or something. So we're teaching that skill where it's gonna be very valuable for them later.
Yeah, I do. It's really good that you brought that up because I wouldn't have really thought about that. I think even adults, we have that problem now, right? Because we're being drawn in so many different directions. There's a video here and a this there. And that's one of the things I like about these conversations because they're just a little longer, a little more in depth. You can kind of sit through it. I love listening to podcasts. I have several that I listen to. And I learned something, even if it's just something small, every time I listen to one. And I've learned so much from just having these conversations too. Um, and that's a really valuable insight. We need to work as a culture on our attention spans. And I love that you guys are doing that with this group of teens because we're being drawn to not have good attention spans. And we need to because that's how we listen well and that's how we communicate well. So you've mentioned about being a collaborative leader who values ideas from everyone on the team. We talked a little bit about that with the scrum and allowing them to kind of have some ownership there, but why is that leadership style important to you across the board?
Well, I'm working with teenagers, but I'm working with a lot of different generations. Also, I have a parent group that I work with. I have
Yeah.
admin that I work with. I, so I have stakeholders in the community that I'm working with. So a lot of different generations that I'm communicating with. So again, our brand that we've created is important to get across to all the stakeholders, and we do that by social media and other ways of communicating. By communicating concisely, everybody's on the same page, same expectations. That way, everybody knows what to do, and there's accountability. So when something does go wrong, we can assess it and we can determine the best practice. But again, including including them in the decision making makes it much more valuable, much more buy-in. I'm dealing with a lot of hormones, a lot, a lot of ego sometimes when I deal with older older stakeholders. So even instructors that come in and work with us, I'm the program coordinator, so I have to be able to make sure every decision is best for the whole group. I don't want somebody coming in and going, well, let's have a 3-minute drum solo here, and or whatever, so it's important that I'm balancing all that, and I'm the go-between, and I'm the person that, ultimately it's my name on it. So I want
Yeah,
to
I
do that.
don't envy your position at all. For anybody who's managing big organizations, Scott is managing 80 teenagers on a field and their parents. And if you think T-ball parents are bad, you haven't seen band parents. And I think too, something that interesting to know is that you probably, and I'm guessing here, but and we can kind of talk about that. I'm guessing that your parent generations are very varied as well, because I know for me, we didn't have our son until I was 40. And so I'm an old parent. But then we have some very young parents because we're coming back into the culture of, okay, we want to have families, we want to have children. And so there are probably some very young parents. And so you probably have at least a 20-year span in the parents' ages alone.
Easily. We just
Yeah.
but we just graduated a family, and I say family because I had all four of their kids for 10 years, 10-year span. So and I'm an older parent also. But I'm glad because
Me too. Shout out to that because it was a great idea.
so yeah, you're right. I mean, even in the span of our and so really, I have parents that I could easily have taught. So so I am I'm not gonna say they're kids, but they're older kids, so I can relate to them more.
Yeah. But what a unique personality and ability you must have to be able to work. I mean, that is so, I mean, if you really break that down from a freshman in high school to, somebody my age, 46, 47 years old, maybe even older, because if I had a teenager right now, I don't even want to think about that. But, you're talking, I mean, many, many, many generations of people that you're dealing with, and band parents are typically, I don't think we could put everybody in a box, but they're typically very involved. They want to be a part. They want to know. They want to encourage the kids. They want to, help them along. That a lot of times, a lot of band kids are taking lessons outside of there as well to increase their knowledge and to grow in what they're doing. Some kids play more than one instrument. And so, yeah, I can't even imagine. Like, if anyone, Scott, was equipped to deal with an organizational team, I think that you would probably find it a breath of fresh air because you've been when you throw in the hormones of the parents and the teenagers, and then everything in between. Yeah, wow.
Well, I appreciate it, and again, that's where the fairness comes in. That's where we try to create a culture to where the kids and the parents want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And they're learning and they're making memories. And we have some students, obviously, who are very good musicians who might go on profession. We
Yeah.
have some students who enjoy playing their instrument and being around all their friends. All that has to it has to be in one program. So we have to offer that to everybody. So I can look a parent in the eye easily and say this is the best activity that your child can be in with 100% honesty.
Yeah. And honesty is so important and so key too. And having that good, clear communication all the way throughout helps so much. Again, I can't say enough about how those years formed kind of who I am. And I even, even if it's not a conscious effort of thinking about like every day or even every week, there's so many things I learned from being part of that and being part of a good organization where we were equipped well, but we were also pushed to do better, to do more, to accomplish more. And it was just really exciting, and to have just that camaraderie. Just it's a whole family in itself, and team sports are like that, right? And there's some people who will say that marching band is not a sport; it is a sport. It is so a sport. So is color guard. I cannot tell you how many sprints across the football field I had to do, and I should probably go do some more now. But yeah, I mean, the culture within it, just the camaraderie and the communication, and the free flowing, between. So, yeah, kudos to you for that. Absolutely. I cannot even imagine trying to organize and keep that chaos at bay. And that brings us, to as well. You've talked about wearing many hats and learning, every aspect of the work that you're doing, whether it's with the band or with projects that you're working on. How does that mindset help you build trust and credibility with the teams that you're working with?
All right, so I made it a point early on to learn as much about what I was teaching as possible, and that's what I'm enjoying doing for my next steps for project management. Again, a lot of that is the same. So, whether I, can put on a bass drum and show them something, or throw a double and catch with the flag, or just pick up a bassoon and show them how to figure whatever, that adds credibility to what I'm
Yeah.
doing. I create a lot of our content, uh, and of our project. So that helps me do that better. And as we go through the season, in fact, I'll have the students contribute as much as they can, like
Mhm.
for choreography or anything that I feel like could enhance the show, enhance the product. Uh, so as I'm going through and I'm managing that project, or actually as I'm managing our program, I'm I have lived a lot of it, so I have a lot of different perspectives where I can come at it, and adding that curiosity to knowledge. If as we go, I'm not, and again, I've done this a long time, but I'm not done it all. I've not been all. So as I'm seeing another group and they have a better whatever, I'm curious. What are they doing? How they figure that out? I Again, they're usually very helpful, and then I apply it to our situation, and then we become better,
Yeah.
just by helping each other. So it's a great band is a great community of educators, but also, again, I'm saying project management is the same thing. They want to help each other. They want everybody to succeed.
Yeah, that's so true. And I was thinking while you were saying that, I think, Scott, I think that well, I don't deny at all that you're a project manager for sure. I think you're a program manager more than anything, because when you look at a project, and for those people who don't know, a lot of people who tune into this are project manager. I think they're probably going to agree. They're probably, listening, shaking their head. No, no, he's a program manager. Because a project is the entity that you're currently working on, right? And that can have a lot of moving parts to it. But what you're talking about when you're doing, within the organization of the band, so it's, again, let's go back. You have concert band and you have marching band. Those are two different things. And you're running those sometimes simultaneously. And so you're doing, and you compose as well, which is incredible. And I like to talk about that as well. But so there's a bazillion moving parts, because not only do you let's just take the concert band, for example. you have groups within that. So there's all of these groups, whether it's flute and you have your clarinets and your trumpets and your trombones, and then you have your drums, percussion. And so you have to take all of that and make all of that work together. And that's not just a project. You have different programs within that project that you're managing all at one time simultaneously. And so kind of off subject a little bit, just out of curiosity, how many instruments do you play, or what instruments do you play? Do you play them all?
Play all the band instruments.
All of them.
To
What?
a cer to a certain level, not
That
you
is
know
great. Well, I do think at a certain point, right, that a lot of them overlap. Like I know, I learned on flute. I started on flute when I was in 6th grade, and so I played flute, and then I played piccolo, of course, because that's like a natural kind of transition. And then I also did bass clarinet a little bit here and there, and so there's some transitioning over that's not too super difficult. But that's incredible. Every single one of
well, I took, an equivalent of an extra semester, I'm not a grad at Jacksonville State University, to learn more. Then in my master's at Vandercook College in Chicago, I doubled up on some other instruments and learned even more. That's very applicable. And then I did not ever want a student coming to me and say, "How do you finger this?" or "What's wrong with my instrument?" I had no idea.
yeah.
So I wanted, again, adding that credibility, adding.
Yeah,
So I
I'm
always
I'm sitting
feel,
here thinking, what an incredible leader you are that you would learn. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. You had to dive in a lot to that, because although there's some that do transition over pretty, fairly easily, there's some that, don't. And so that's really you have really, really worked really hard to have a well-rounded leadership style. Yeah, and so important that any of them that come to you, you're not like, hey, let me Google that. Let me figure that. you know,
well, when I started, there was no Google, but even in marching band, I
yeah.
was a marching technician with band regiment,
Wow.
and I did color guard, I did percussion, drum major, I did drum major also.
I was thinking last night too, somewhere I have my rifle. I kept it all these years. I don't have a flag. I don't know why. I don't know whatever happened to the flags, but I have my rifle somewhere. But Lord knows where, so I'd have to dig it out. But you got me thinking about that too. Those were like the good old days, like I'm old enough now I can look back and be like, oh, those were the good old days. And so let's talk a little bit about, so when I was growing up and I was in band, and I'm a huge believer in this as well. There's a lot of statistics behind this, that the kids or even adults who play music perform on a higher level educationally. And yeah, so there's some research that's been done for eons and eons about, even I'm going to tell you how I learned this.
Okay,
Give a little bit away for myself. I'm horrible at math, and I mean horrible, uh, like really terrible. Now, if you want a paper written, a book written, proofing, publishing, any of that, I'm your girl. When it comes to math, I just terrible. My teachers would just pull their hair out with me, call my parents constantly. And so back then in the way olden days, I'm sure there was research before that, but some research had come out that the kids who were in band, whatever class they had next, they would perform better in. And so actually my band teacher came to me because, we hadn't talked about this on here yet, but to be in band, you have to have good grades. You don't just get to do it. And so they go hand in hand. And so because I was not doing well in math, that had something to do with my band. And so my teachers kind of came together, which was really a beautiful thing. And they were like, hey, there's this research out, there's these studies out saying that if you will go to math after band, you will perform better. And sure enough, lo and behold, whether it was true or not, it was in my head or not, I did really well, for me, which is not great. But I ended up doing a lot better. And so throughout the rest of my high school years, they planned it out for me that way to where I could go to math after my band class, which was really, really helpful to me. And I'm so grateful that they did. I'm still terrible at math, but it did help. So I say that to say, you mentioned that band students often become incredible future employees and leaders. And I think there's so much more to that. one, we've talked about, the teamwork and the camaraderie and working together and having accountability, which I think is really important. But what other qualities do the performing arts programs help to develop that last for the life of somebody? Because it certainly has for me.
Right. Well, first, let me commend your band teachers for valuing you so much that they took the effort. They did just let,
Yeah.
"Okay, good luck." They took the effort. They really wanted you in their program and saw you as,
Yes.
somebody that they should help. So that's great. That doesn't surprise me at all. You had great band directors, and, that doesn't surprise me with the math because you're using the same part of the brain for both those. The band is so wonderful because you're using multiple parts of the brain at the same time, and all the instant collaboration and everything that's just so much more enhanced. And that, you know, those kind of things make band students so much more valuable as and employees when they leave high school or sometimes when they're in high school because
Hmm.
their accountability because I
Yeah.
did a and I'm trying to think. I know somebody will be able to correct me here, but there was a little concert, a little demonstration, by a composer where the orchestra played 95% of the correct notes. 95%. So only note they missed 1 out of every 20 notes. So you think 95, that's pretty good. It was horrible. It was horrible.
It's
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
I'll find it and I'll put it
Yeah.
below.
Send it to me. That's really interesting.
Yeah, so I've done that actually at a couple of, holiday concerts where we're combined with the middle school. And I preface it with 95, you'd be happy with your child's, grade for that. And it
If I
was,
got a 95 in math, my dad would have been really happy.
but our expectations are so high, that accountability, that grit and determination of learning an instrument, being bad at it to begin with, and then sticking with it and following the process and living with that determination of getting better through time. Again, that's something that's getting less and less in society. So
Absolutely.
it's still valued though in corporate America. The curiosity of like I said, of learning different instruments or learning different music or doing things throughout. Just it's amazing now what's at their fingertips, where they can just research something and instantly get that. So that curiosity is gonna make them better employees because they're going to be if they don't know something, they're gonna ask, they're going to find it out, they're going to do whatever they need to do to get it better. The confidence that we're instilling in them. A lot of times it's before they are confident, I'm their biggest cheerleader. I know what they can do, I have confidence in myself that I can pull that out of them.
Mhm.
So once they achieve great things with us, they're gonna transfer that and say,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I can do that in any situation." Again, attention to detail. We talked a little bit
Yes.
about their focus. So they have to be, focused on what they're doing at all times, because if not, then something's gonna go wrong in their life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Deliverable. And performing under pressure, one of you know, one of the things that we talk about is in a live performance, when something goes wrong, here's do this, you can do this. So we plan for that. Okay. An agile way of thinking. We plan for that to go wrong, and this is what's going to happen. And you quickly recover. And a lot of times the audience or judges will not even see it. Or you make it part of the show. I meant to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That learning, we talked a little bit about it before too, like that learning how to pivot regardless and having a plan when something fails. This is the next thing and the next thing. And it's really, really beautiful how you're able to do that and teach that and instill that. And so my two biggest takeaways is one, I think that Scott, you're a program manager, although also anybody who's a program manager is, I believe, also a project manager. And you would be an amazing asset to any team. I wish I could hire you because I mean, good grief, the takeaways and just the lifelong lessons and the ability to work with so many different people and so many different facets. But the other takeaway is people who are looking at resumes, one of the questions should be, were you in band? And I think so. We should ask that question. Like, were you in band? Because I know you're better equipped to kind of navigate when things, because when you were out on a football field and it poured down rain and you still had to, do the thing or figure out what to do. And so, yeah, what a great question for the HR teams is like, hey, I don't know, can you ask that? I don't know if it's like you're not allowed to ask. You should ask that. That's the little takeaway from here. Ask whoever you're interviewing, were they ever in band? Because if they were and they made it a while, they're probably going to be one of your better candidates to hire. And since Scott teaches those people, he's even a better candidate. So those are two little takeaways. Well, Scott, I want to be respectful of your time and everybody who's listening. So who is the most influential person, or persons, can be more than one, in your life that left a lasting legacy on the way that you lead and mentor and serve others?
Okay. All right. That's a great question. So probably initially Dr. David Walters. He was the band director at Jacksonville State University when I got there. And he created a wonderful band, but also a wonderful, I know in corporate speak now, when you say family, that's a trigger now, but definitely an inclusive family, and just such a very opposite personality of me, just very laid back. He's very calm, doesn't get overly excited. So when he spoke, it was very, very important what he
Yes.
said. He was hilarious too. He was a great arranger, and he created such a wonderful band that continues to just be exemplary of university bands. Also, Dr. Ben Esper was one of my early administrators.
Oh, that name. I know that name.
I taught in Northwest Georgia, so you might know him.
I have to look that up. Yeah. Esper. I know that name somehow. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
That's right, Dr. Ben Esper. He was when I was at a middle school. He was the principal there, and actually asked me to move with him at a super as a superintendent. He was a superintendent at another school system, so to take over the band there. But again, he had so much confidence in me, and he he was he was very instrumental, no pun intended, in building when I started teaching. Building that confidence, and just helping me, go through jump through some hurdles and things that, missteps as a new teacher would do. And really, I was, especially in Northwest Georgia, I was fortunate enough in that district to have a lot of very established and very successful band directors in that area who really mentored me. And I don't know why, but I was a very energetic
They saw
and
something. Yeah, I shout out to Georgia as well for really pouring into the music programs in the schools. I think there's some other places in our country that could learn from that, and learn from what we talked about here too, and just looking in how we're growing leaders within those programs. So those are great. Is that all of them? Is it?
well, that kind of motivates me to, as I'm now in my situation, motivates me to, consult and to talk to younger
Yeah,
directors about, obviously things have changed, but a lot of things have not, so it it really excites me to get back.
yeah, absolutely. All right. So the last question, which is typically the hardest one, when people reflect on your life and your leadership one day, what do you hope your legacy will be?
Well, that's a very pointed question because I know when I'm leaving, and actually less than a year from last night, I'll be leaving my current school. I'll go into another industry completely. I want to completely.
Right.
So that is really on my mind because my daughter is in my band. She's at my school. Oh, I'm gonna start
No,
tearing.
you will not be the first one to cry on this show, so it's okay.
So as that's very much on my mind. Every
Yeah.
single week is going to be on my mind. So I want them to love music. I want them to love each other, and I want them to know that we all care about them, and the reason we do things that we do is we do care about them, and we want them to have the most life skills that they can have to be productive and to be successful in whatever they do. And I see it as my last chance, my last year to do that. Again, because I care deeply about what I do, and I always have, and I work really hard to make sure that they have the best experience possible. So as they leave, like you said, you remember those times very fondly. So I want to be a part of that. I'd love to be a part of that. So I want them to, to remember the things that we accomplished, remember how we've been successful, but I also remember, them owning the results. If something didn't go right, what happened, learning from that, and just being a better person, being helpful to others, being a great citizen, a great employee, everything, human.
That's wonderful. And here's my takeaway for it. I think that you have already left a legacy. More than you probably know. I know that I can honestly say that of all the different people I have encountered in my life, my band directors and the group of people and just the camaraderie and the family that we had there, it is lasting forever. I learned so much, and I know I can tell from the conversation that we've had that you have taught them so much. We're going to give a big shout out to Stars Mill High School, to the Panthers. So shout out to them. Mr. Scott King, amazing to talk to you, to know you, to learn from you. Just really incredible. I'm so glad that we got synced up on LinkedIn, and that we're able to just kind of communicate back and forth. It's really, really been great. Anybody who is looking for a project program manager, you need to reach out to Scott, connect with him on LinkedIn for sure. Because I have no doubt you're going to get snatched up just as soon as you're available. And I have no doubt God has big plans for what's in the future. It's always difficult to leave something behind, but when we're called to do something different and we follow God's purpose in it, He will bless that, just like He's blessed the things that you've done at these different high schools, and what you've poured into these kids. I believe is absolutely invaluable, and you could never put a price tag on it. So I'm honored to get to know you better, and just to kind of collaborate with you, and I hope that others will connect with you and get to know you better too. Yeah, I mean, what a cool connection, and we had so many things. I could talk to you for hours about different. And now I'm like, oh, I need to go pick my flute back up and start playing it because somebody asked me. Somebody asked me not long ago about, oh, what are you playing? I was like, well, I don't really play anything anymore. My dad plays like a whole bunch of different stuff, and then our son is taking piano lessons and singing lessons. And so, he's working on that, and I'm over here like, well, I should probably get back in it. So, thank you for the motivation, for the conversation. Thank you for pouring into the youth and to the families, and there's not as much of that as I think we should have. And I have no doubt you have already left quite the legacy. And maybe some of them will be watching this and they can say, "Hey," and they shout out to how much they appreciate what you've taught them, and so thank you.
There's
Bless her heart. It'll be okay. We'll just tell her, look, one day your dad will. It won't be embarrassing anymore. You'll be so grateful and so glad. And I know my dad is the founder of IOL, and he'd really rather be fishing than anything else, but sometimes I pull him in to work on some stuff with us, and it's such an honor and such a blessing to be able to have that time with him. And what an amazing opportunity you have to teach your daughter and to help in the additional raising on that side of it. Yeah, kudos to you, Dad. Good job.
um, I want her to be a part of, the band program that I built,
Yeah,
get the benefits from that, and she's gonna be a great drum major, leader, and I'm looking forward to it.
very exciting. That's wonderful.
Honored to be a part of your podcast,
Thank
and
you.
I appreciate the conversation and letting me tell my story. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And I love to have you back on sometime. We'll see how it goes after you get through this year. You got a lot to do this year. So, well, thank you again for being on. Everybody go connect with Mr. Scott King on LinkedIn. We'll put his information below. and definitely connect with him. He's a great asset, and we just appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.